On this Thursday night, look who's talking. The Prime Minister and the U.S. President's direct negotiations on tariffs and security.
We won't negotiate in public.
What some premiers are pushing for if there isn't a solution soon. Elon Musk turns on Donald Trump, the threats they're now making against each other. Fond memories of Marc Garneau.
I was very intimidated to meet this hero.
Astronaut David Saint-Jacques reflects on the legacy of the first Canadian to go into space. Plus, age-old advice.
I live today, I don't live for tomorrow.
Some sage wisdom from this club of centenarians.
Global National with Dawna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. In the midst of an unprecedented trade war with our closest neighbor, it's been revealed Canada's Prime Minister is talking directly with the American president, trying to reach a deal. Marc Garneau and Donald Trump met in person in the Oval Office last month and since then have kept communicating, according to Canada's industry minister. Also tonight, there's a grim sign of the toll this trade war is taking on Canada's economy. Canada's exports crashed in April. The country posted a $7.1 billion merchandise trade deficit, the largest on record. David Akin has our top story tonight.
It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Marc Garneau.
Marc Garney's trip to the White House went well, so well that the two men have held direct talks with each other since, though news of those leader-to-leader negotiations only emerged today.
We are there to support the sector.
Canada's industry minister said no one should be surprised to learn of them, but no, she was not going to share details of those discussions.
We won't negotiate in public, and we'll let the Prime Minister do his work, and we will let all ministers do their work.
They're right at the brink. They're working hard around the clock to try to get a deal.
The U.S. ambassador to Canada, Pete Huckstra, told the Globe and Mail that the talks are aimed at sketching out agreements on everything from Arctic security to access to Canada's critical minerals and, of course, reducing tariffs. Welcome news for Canada's exporters.
We need those conversations. We need that trust for a real trade agreement.
There is really no alternative for Canada. We have to find a way out of this particular situation because it's not sustainable.
Relief cannot come soon enough. The Chamber of Commerce says Canada's exports have plunged by $15 billion so far this year, almost all of that in car parts, steel, and aluminum.
It's really the worst case that we were hoping not to see. It's real.
But the Prime Minister is counseling patience, telling Global News,
you don't want to make too much of one piece of data, but there's lots of indicators underneath that the strategy that we're pursuing to build the Canadian economy, to be masters in our own home, to have one Canadian economy out of 13, to diversify our trading partners, that's the right strategy for Canada.
Still, industry groups are anxious, and so are some premiers like Ontario's Doug Ford, who say if these negotiations do not produce results in a few days, Canada has to retaliate, or to use Ford's phrase, come out with guns blazing. Dawna.
Okay, David Akin in Ottawa, thank you. Well, what was a cozy relationship between the U.S. president and the richest man in the world has completely collapsed. Donald Trump gave Elon Musk expansive powers to cut government waste, and for months they've been close, but Musk left that role last week, and now the two men are in an angry public feud.
Elon and I had a great relationship. I don't know if we're well anymore, but I'm very disappointed because Elon knew the inner workings of this bill better than almost anybody sitting here.
The feud is blowing up on their social media sites after Musk called Trump's signature budget bill a massive, outrageous, pork-filled abomination and claimed it will increase the U.S. deficit. Trump posted, Elon was wearing thin. I asked him to leave. I took away his EV mandate that forced everyone to buy electric cars, and he just went crazy. Musk fired back, without me, Trump would have lost the election, and he slammed the president for what he calls his ingratitude. Then he threatened to drop what he called the really big bomb. Trump, Musk claims, is in the Epstein files, the unreleased files detailing prominent figures involved with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Well, Jackson Proskow is watching all of this unfold in Washington. Jackson, I guess with two guys with such big egos, this maybe was inevitable. How is it all playing out?
Well, Dawna, it didn't feel inevitable 6 days ago when Musk was being given the golden key to the White House for his service by the president. It's incredible how fast this is all falling apart in real time on social media. Not long ago, Musk posted on X agreeing with a prominent conservative influencer's call for Trump to be impeached and replaced with Vice President J.D. Vance. Musk then went on to say that Trump's tariffs will cause a recession later this year. So all of this sets up this sort of existential feud within the Republican Party, and it could actually signal a split between the tech wing of the party and the Trump wing. Tonight, Trump ally Steve Bannon is calling for Musk to be deported. What's clear from today is that Musk thought he had bought himself a president who would do his bidding, and he sure isn't happy to see Trump and Republicans ignoring his wishes. Now, if this doesn't de-escalate, it could turn into a wild power struggle. Remember, Trump has immense control over the wheels of government, including sparking investigations and those hefty federal contracts that go to Musk's companies. And he's already suggesting canceling those tonight. Meanwhile, Musk's companies provide essential services back to the government, including to NASA and the Pentagon. And Musk's social media platform gives him a massive megaphone and massive influence, not just in the U.S., but worldwide. So we have to watch closely, Dawna, to see which Republicans break in which direction and whether a significant shift either way could imperil either the world's richest man or the world's most powerful one.
Okay, Jackson Proskow in Washington, thank you. President Trump is banning citizens from a dozen countries from entering the U.S., and he's put partial bans on people from 7 additional countries. Those fully barred include people from Afghanistan, Myanmar, Libya, and Haiti. The partial restrictions include Cuba and Venezuela and apply to applicants for new visas. Once again, here's Jackson Proskow on Trump's crackdown on foreign nationals.
With foreign travel to the U.S. already down sharply, President Donald Trump is closing the door to more visitors with a travel ban and heavy restrictions on nearly 20 countries.
And why now? I can say that it can't come soon enough, frankly. We want to keep bad people out of our country.
Citing national security concerns, Trump claims he was motivated by this week's attack in Boulder, Colorado, carried out by an Egyptian national, though Egypt is not included in the ban.
We're moving them out, and we're moving them out very strongly. The protection of the nation.
During his first term, Trump tried a similar ban targeting predominantly Muslim countries.
What do we want? Justice!
It faced heavy opposition in the courts and was eventually repealed by President Joe Biden. This time around, the Trump administration has adapted to include some exemptions, including for current visa holders and those with close relatives in the U.S.
It reflects the lessons that were learned, and it's more likely to be able to survive court challenges than some of the earlier versions of travel bans that we saw.
The ban won't help America's faltering reputation on the world stage and comes as the U.S. is set to host the World Cup and the Summer Olympics during Trump's term. Athletes and coaches will be exempt from the restrictions. Fans will not be. I want to speak to Mr. Trump and ask, Mr. Trump, what is your goal? What is your plan? Says this Iranian citizen.
Trump is also targeting Harvard with a travel ban as part of his ongoing feud with the Ivy League school. In a separate order, Trump said the U.S. will bar foreigners who seek to enter the country to study at Harvard and will consider revoking visas for current students. Dawna?
Lots of bans, Jackson, thanks. A U.S. and Israeli-backed humanitarian group distributing aid in Gaza reopened 2 sites today after a series of shootings near its facilities. The Gaza Humanitarian Foundation closed the sites yesterday after dozens of Palestinians were killed near the Rafah location over 3 consecutive days. The aid group says 26 truckloads of food were handed out at 2 locations today. The Hamas-run health ministry says 3 journalists were among 5 people killed in an Israeli strike on a hospital run by the Anglican Church in Gaza City. Israel's military claims it was a precise hit on what it claims was a Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighter operating from a command center in the hospital's yard. Nearly 200 journalists have been killed in Gaza and the West Bank since October 2023. Israel says it has now recovered the bodies of an Israeli-Canadian hostage and her husband. They were abducted in the Hamas attack of October 2023, and in December of that year, it was announced the couple had died. For their families, the return of their bodies is another painful step in what they've already endured. Redmond Shannon reports.
On October 7th, 2023, Canadian Judy Weinstein-Hagey and her husband Gad left kibbutz Nir Oz for their pre-dawn walk. The couple took this video of the start of the Hamas-led attack. Before Judy frantically called paramedics to say they were both shot and Gad was likely dead. More than 600 days later, Israel says a special operation found their bodies in the Khan Yunis area of Gaza. Israeli media report it followed the interrogation of a captured Palestinian. Prime Minister Marc Garneau said the recovery of their remains is a time to begin to heal and to rest. We mourn with her family.
Canada really has the tools. It has very unique approach to dealing with diplomacy.
The couple's daughter Iris regularly called on Canada to do more to help get their bodies back. Gad was a US Israeli. Judy held all 3 citizenships. On Thursday, Iris said, "My beautiful parents have been freed. We have certainty." She thanked Israeli and US authorities, although not Canada.
Judith was a peace-loving woman, raised in Toronto, and she did not only talk about peace, but she lived peace.
This is me talking from Kibbutz Nir Oz.
Judy was a retired English teacher who taught mindfulness and read poetry online. She will be the last of the 8 Canadians killed on October 7th to be given a funeral. There are now thought to be 56 hostages, alive and dead, being held in Gaza. Last week, Israel and Hamas failed to agree on a deal to release 28 of them. Dawna?
All right, Redmond Shannon, thank you. Here in Canada, fire crews are hopeful cooler weather and rain will help ease the raging wildfires. But for now, thousands of people in 5 provinces are out of their homes. In BC, 115 properties are now under evacuation orders. The situation on the prairies is much more severe. Nearly 3,000 residents have been forced to flee the fires in Alberta, 15,000 in Saskatchewan, and 18,000 in Manitoba. And in Ontario, more than 2,000 residents have now been forced to leave their homes. Heather Urix-West explains the situation on the ground.
A lifetime of precious memories turned to ash. The iconic Robertson Trading Post had been owned by Alexandra Biorgi's family for more than 50 years.
As the store is burning down, it's just your life is flashing before your eyes because it's like our childhood is burning down too.
The fires across Manitoba, Saskatchewan, and Alberta have been a source of heartbreak and stress for thousands displaced from their homes.
It's very hard out here. I don't know how many times I cried. We're pretty much cooped up in one room and it's too loud here and it's just not safe for my kids.
Winnipeg Police Service say they've deployed more resources to ensure the safety of the 14,000 evacuees currently calling the city home.
To date, there's been about, we've attended to 70 dispatch calls for services at the various evacuee sites, and that's including the different hotels.
For the people of Swan Hills, Alberta, a 10-day evacuation order has come to an end. Periods of rain and cooler temperatures have helped the situation in Alberta, though that reprieve appears to be over.
Our meteorologists have indicated we're not likely to see any meaningful precipitation over the next 48 hours. As things start to dry out and it gets warmer, that will result in more active fire behavior.
Early June means there is still a very long fire season ahead. Heather Urix-West, Global News, Calgary.
A warning to parents coming up, the advice from doctors as measles cases rise. There's some sad news from the Ontario Chief Medical Officer of Health. A premature infant in Ontario has died after being infected with measles. The baby had other complications, but is said to have contracted measles before birth through her mother, who was unvaccinated. Measles cases are on the rise in multiple places. Catherine Ward explains what doctors are advising.
In a statement, Dr. Kieran Moore said, while measles may have been a contributing factor in both the premature birth and death, the infant also faced other serious medical complications. Ontario's Health Minister, Sylvia Jones, responded shortly after the news broke.
You know, it's devastating when you hear about something that we've had measles vaccine in Canada and around the world for almost 5 decades. And yet we still have individuals who, for many different reasons, are choosing not to get vaccinated.
This is the first death in Ontario connected to the current outbreak. But in May 2024, another child also died after complications from measles.
It's sort of a double shock to now in 2025 have now the experience of a second death.
The MMR vaccine is a live vaccine, meaning it contains a weakened version of the virus that causes measles. According to the Health Canada website, it is generally not recommended while people are pregnant, but notes there may be situations where benefits outweigh risks, such as during measles or rubella outbreaks.
We ask individuals who are looking to get pregnant women to be vaccinated at least 1 month before conception. The infant will receive immunity through the mother.
Ontario has been battling a growing outbreak since last October. Numbers released Thursday show 121 new cases within the past week, bringing the provincial total to 2,009 cases. 749 cases have been recorded in Alberta, 46 in Saskatchewan, and there are 90 confirmed cases in Manitoba. Doctors say vaccines are the ticket out of this outbreak, and they are calling on people to check their status and, if needed, to roll up their sleeves. Catherine Ward, Global News, Toronto.
He believed in public service and setting a positive example. Ahead, how Marc Garneau inspired so many Canadians.
It's called RadarSat-2. And when people think about putting a sensor on a spacecraft,
that is Marc Garneau inspiring the next generation. He was the first Canadian astronaut to go into space, and he died yesterday at the age of 76. Today at the Toronto High School named after him, flags were lowered to honor him. He visited that school many times, most recently last year, and staff and students say they're forever grateful.
He'd do presentations with students and staff. He even on occasion would sneak into a class and pretend to be a supply teacher.
I had the opportunity to meet Dr. Marc Garneau last year when he came to the school, and it was just such an amazing opportunity because he's such an idol to me as the first Canadian in space.
I had the opportunity to run the MGCI Astronomy Club as president, and I'll tell you right now, Marc Garneau is one of the most inspirational figures that we've ever had. We love talking about him.
With me now from Longueuil, Quebec, is David Saint-Jacques, an astronaut, engineer, astrophysicist, medical doctor, and a man who was deeply inspired by Marc Garneau. David, thank you so much for speaking with us. I think you were 14 when Marc Garneau became the first Canadian to go into space. Take us back to that moment and what it meant to you.
I had this vague fantasy of space, but it seemed like an impossible dream. But suddenly, it became a possible dream. So what he really achieved is kind of gave me the right to dream about it, gave me permission. And sometimes that's all it takes to trigger a child. So that I will forever be grateful for, giving not just me, so many people the power to dream a bit harder about a bit bigger things. I was very intimidated to meet this hero. And then, boom, another surprise. Here's this gentle, warm, simple, grounded guy who is just welcoming and really interested in me and trying to help me, set me up for success. So beyond his great technical ability and his great accomplishments was, I think, even more importantly, a great example of how to be a good person.
What did he offer you on a personal level? Because he was so easy to talk to. What did he give you? What are your fondest memories?
He gave me this great example that, if you have a talent, that's a responsibility to push it and do something with it. You kind of owe it to the world to do something with your potential. And if you have the opportunity to push your potential, it's a great privilege. You should be grateful and you should do your utmost. So I think he embodied that spirit of service and the responsibility towards trying to accomplish the most that you can with this time we all have on Earth.
You know, I wonder if giving back to his country, which mattered so much to him, that perhaps he felt he needed to do that or was influenced by the experiences he had in space?
It's not your space program. It's the nation's space program. You're doing this on behalf of every Canadian. So you're right, it is in the same spirit of service. As a military man, he was also a military man before joining the astronaut corps. So again, that is also really driven by service to your country. So that's really been like a constant string throughout his life. Men like that are immortal, really, in our global memory.
Well, I know he was a role model to you and a friend. My condolences to you, David Saint-Jacques.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank his family for lending Marc to us for, sometimes some moments during his life, his precious time on Earth. He's touched so many of us. Condolences,
nicely put. Thank you.
Bye.
Next, people who have lived for a century. Life lessons from those in the know. There are all kinds of places to look for words of wisdom these days, but it's usually best to go straight to a trusted source. A long-term care home in Ottawa has a lot of them. It is celebrating residents who have lived 100 years and longer. Taria Isri brings us their advice for navigating life's big moments.
And this is Holland?
Yeah.
A strong memory and a skilled hand. Roland Rolly Lalonde is a centenarian, painter, and veteran.
I live today, I don't live for tomorrow.
He went to war at 20 years old, and one of his greatest accomplishments is being among the Canadian soldiers who liberated the Netherlands from the Nazis.
I got lots of from Holland.
A victory that inspires his art.
I'm the last one that's left.
Lalonde served in the legendary Van Duze and turns 103 next month.
I haven't had a drink of scotch since 1974.
He stays away from sugar too, but on this day he'll make an exception. The Ottawa Seniors Residence Pearly Health is celebrating its Century Club with a special salute to its veterans ahead of the anniversary of D-Day.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
103-year-old Lucille Lane served in the Second World War as a coder in Halifax. She and her late husband met as kids and later wrote letters to each other during the war.
I wrote oodles and oodles and oodles of letters. Yes, because he was in the Navy.
She's outlived her husband and their 3 children. Despite life's tragedies, Lane finds reasons for optimism.
Never give up. That's my motto.
Another motto of hers, Canada is the best country on earth.
Have you heard about, the 51st state? Canada should be the 51st state?
Don't mention that.
Lalonde did mention the U.S. president.
You guys are not.
Staying up to date on the state of the world and updating your skills in a changing one. Some of their secrets to making it past 100. Taria Isri, Global News, Montreal.
Love that. That is Global National for this Thursday. I'm Dawna Friesen. Tonight's Air Canada showcases a statue of Louis Riel at St. Boniface Museum in Winnipeg, the view from New Westminster, BC, and a patriotic gnome in Fort Saskatchewan, Alberta. Please send your pictures of Canadian pride to Global National at globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Neetu Garcha will be at the anchor desk tomorrow, and I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.